Breaking news.
Again.
Your Dallas Mavericks have made a move. The Dallas Mavericks are making a move. That news here in just a moment here on 105 through the fan. At Kevin Gray Sports, at Reg Atatula, if you want to get at us on Twitter as we get you the particulars of the breaking news here on 105 through the fan. Breaking news on 105 through the fan is presented by BetQL. Smarter bets start with BetQL. Download the BetQL app or visit BetQL.com today. This coming from ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski. The Sacramento Kings are trading Richaun Holmes and the number 24 overall pick to the Dallas Mavericks.
And the number 24 overall pick is going to be, as we are seeing right now, Olivier-Maxence Prosper.
Omax Prosper.
Did you call him Omax?
Omax.
Gotcha.
Omax Prosper.
Gotcha.
From Marquette. So we said that the Mavericks were not done, as we are inside the gray area already. Breaking news again. The Dallas Mavericks making another move. Olivier-Maxence Prosper, forward out of Marquette, coming to Dallas along with Richaun Holmes, a player who we thought maybe, a year or two ago could be a fit in Dallas. The Mavericks making moves. The Kings are sending Holmes in the traded player exception created with the Oklahoma City trade.
So they're not sending anything out here?
So the Kings are sending Holmes into the traded player exception created with the Oklahoma City trade. So
that's it?
That's it. So the $17 million exception that was created by sending Davis Bertans to Oklahoma City.
Immediately.
That player is now Richaun Holmes. And we said earlier that the Mavericks may not be done. So check this out. So let's reset this.
Wait, so we was talking about Dereck Lively definitely starting. Not no more.
Well, no, because now as we look at this, the Mavericks have now acquired Richaun Holmes. They've made not one, but two first-round selections with Dereck Lively and now Olivier-Maxence Prosper, who's an athletic wing, who's going to bring a lot of that athleticism to Dallas.
In fact, if you'll allow me to read off of the Ringer's idea of him, I
like this.
Tenacious, disruptive defender with an effective no frills offensive game. So obviously, offense. You're not getting a lot, but when they was talking about getting defense, they were not joking. Basically, all the players that they acquired have a defensive bent. Apparently, his pluses are explosive. He's obviously explosively athletic. He's a off-ball cutter. So, he has good movement, exemplifies the spirit of a role player, capable spot-up shooter, which obviously doesn't sound incredible, but as long as you're capable, and one thing we've said about Luka is there's this Luka bump of him getting you the ball in space, in rhythm, and then he's a versatile defender with the bulk to handle switches against bigger players. 6'7" with a 7'1" wingspan. That another defensive player, and of course to get to the comps, as I've tried to lay this out, comps not necessarily indicative of what a player will be, just kind of play style ideas. Shades of PJ Tucker is what they say in the Ringer.
This is what I was talking about. If you follow me on Twitter at Kevin Gray Sports, I tweeted this out last night. The Mavericks' creativity of this front office had to be on full display today. And this is what I am talking about here. How creative was this front office? Andrew Baker, Nico Harrison, Mark Cuban. How creative was this front office going to be to make moves? And they've done that. They've been able to do that.
Well, they talk about remaking their big rotation. They've started doing that, if not completed doing that.
Again, this is what Mark Stein was talking about. They were going to remake their center rotation. They've done it.
Now, Richaun Holmes has had a little bit of a step back in Sacramento, especially once they added Domantas Sabonis.
Correct. But I think that change of scenery, though, for him is going to be huge here.
Or maybe he's the backup big. I don't know, between Richaun Holmes and Dereck Lively.
Either way, your center rotation is much better now.
Well, unless you're going to play them together.
Either way, the center rotation is better because here's where my mind immediately goes.
Yes,
help me out here.
I'm with you.
The idea of Dwight Powell, I think that, at least from, this is my own humble opinion, again, Dwight Powell has been a terrific leader guy, has been a model citizen in this community for this organization for a long time. It appears, unless they just bring him back in a, backup role, that may be coming to an end. JaVale McGee.
He gonna be the new Theo Pinson?
He threw me all the way off.
You thought because it was draft night I wasn't gonna do it?
Right. JaVale McGee might be finding a way to move on from there. All I know is you've got an athletic center with Richaun Holmes, who provides you a little bit of scoring ability, who needed to change the scenery, as you mentioned, with the whole Domantas Sabonis, being at the forefront there. And now you've got a young player in Dereck Lively, and you moved off of Davis Bertans' contract. And you immediately turned that exception into a good player in Richaun Holmes. What did Jason Kidd say immediately after the season was over with? A lot of these dudes that are around here are not going to be around here anymore. Let's see here. From the 682, y'all confusing movement with progress. Getting that money off the books
was the only good thing I've seen from them. Yeah, that was good, and they have taken that money off the books and used it to add a young defensive wing, which they needed desperately because the size on this team they changed the size on this team pretty quickly. Because this was a team that had a lot of, 6'7", 6'8". They added a footer, and they added a 6'10" guy in Richaun Holmes, who I think it'll be interesting to see how his impact, because Richaun Holmes did fall out of favor in Sacramento even before they added Domantas Sabonis. They added Domantas Sabonis, and his minutes basically fell off of a cliff. So I'm interested in seeing what he's capable of doing. Obviously, again, playing next to Luka offensively, and then defensively within the scheme that Sean Sweeney wants to play, because he was not like an incredible defensive big, in my estimation, if I remember correctly. But again, you use a player exception to add that depth and another young player. You made
another pick with Olivier-Maxence Prosper.
Like you made 2 first-round picks out of that number 10 pick.
Which is what, coming into this draft, we talked about. Maximizing value for the number 10 pick. And you just laid it out right there. You were able to turn the number 10 pick into 2 first-round selections and get a veteran to help you now in Richaun Holmes. So we felt like the Mavericks had a lot to do to try and start to remake this roster, and using the number 10 pick to make that shake. From the 2.54, Richaun averages 3 points. Again, to Reg's point and what he talked about, Domantas Sabonis really took over there as the number 1 center in that.
And I'm not here to tell you that Richaun Holmes is going to be a world beater, because like I said, he had started losing favor in Sacramento before that. But you're very right, KG. There's a point a year or two ago where people were looking at Richaun Holmes as a potential guy to come in for these Dallas Mavericks. I think maybe they had liked him from then, and now they have an opportunity to see what he can do in the system. I'm not here to tell you that all this is absolutely going to work. I think that really the excitement that for myself and KG, I guess I shouldn't speak for KG. Excitement for me is that the Mavericks are being creative in the way that they work. Is it all going to work? I can't tell you that. I ain't got no crystal ball or anything, but
this is the kind of creativity we've been clamoring for.
And it's one that's necessary. It's not even just like, oh man, that's cool. This is necessary to try and traverse the landscape that they have created for themselves, which is a roster that was devoid of talent, that needed that level of overhaul without a lot of assets. And they have taken a singular asset in 10 and made it stretch. I think that that's admirable. Even if we're going to get to a point where once we look at the team, we'll have necessary evaluations to be done. They have made that thing stretch, and I think that matters.
Let me take you back to the last few seasons for Richaun Holmes. Now, we mentioned last year, obviously the minutes decreased, only played in 42 games, averaged 3 points, shot 62% from the field. Let's go back to the previous couple of years before that. In the 21-22 season, averaged nearly 24 minutes a game, nearly 11 points per game, shot 66% from the field, 40% from 3, 7 rebounds per game. The year before that was kind of that breakout year for him in the 2021 season, where he played 61 games, averaged over 14 points per game, shot nearly 64% from the field, and then averaged 8 rebounds per game as well. and averaged nearly 2 assists per game during that year as well. So that was kind of the year that we started looking at, say, oh, this is a guy that is starting to break out a little bit given some of the minutes that he's been playing. So if for him getting around Luka, Kyrie, the opportunity to be able to get back to some of that for him in a system that should be able to accentuate some of his strengths here, you've got a guy here I think that can make some noise with the Dallas Mavericks here. I like this move, actually, for them, especially what they were trying to do to flip that exception that they got by moving on from Bertans there.
Now, again, if you're listening to us right here on 105 through the fan and you're like, hey, man, who are y'all? I don't trust y'all. That's fine. Are you familiar with a man named David Aldridge? Currently editor of The Athletic DC, longtime NBA man.
That's right.
Has, obviously covered this league a ton. On his Twitter, at David Aldridge DC, at 9:44 p.m., quote, Dallas is having a very good night tonight.
Yeah.
Take it from somebody who knows the league. And again, I'm not here to tell you that everything is going to work out swimmingly. I don't know that. And I would never purport to know that. But like what they have done tonight is admirable. And that's all that we could say at this point, and that's all we are saying.
From the 940, so we got a lower scoring Christian Wood.
Oh, do you want to talk about Christian Wood?
Now, look.
ISO!
Let me help you out, 940. Thank you, Jason. What you're getting in Richaun Holmes are things that you would have not been getting with Christian Wood. What I mean by that is, look, there were some off the court things with Christian Wood that for the Mavericks, for this franchise, not worth the headache in bringing him back. Yes, were there things on the floor that he could do from a scoring standpoint? Sure. But there were things off the floor that really concerned this team that were a large reason why this team is not bringing him back. So the whole Christian Wood experience, while, yeah, there was some good to it, there was a lot of things on the floor and off the floor that the Mavericks were not pleased with and we're not going to be willing to deal with anymore.
Now, KG, I know it's going to be a lot, and I'm just going to set this up for you and let you go, because from the 817, they asked, did the Mavericks get 2 first-round picks? How did we get here tonight from the Dallas Mavericks having the 10th overall pick?
Okay, so as we look at it here, the Dallas Mavericks, as we kind of go back real quick, the Dallas Mavericks had the number 10 overall pick to start off the night.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? They drafted Cason Wallace, guard out of Kentucky, on behalf of the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Mavericks, in selecting Cason Wallace, selected him and traded him and Davis Bertans to the Oklahoma City Thunder, which created a $17 million traded player exception that came back to Dallas by moving Bertans. The Oklahoma City Thunder at 12 selected Dereck Lively II out of Duke. Dereck Lively coming to Dallas as a part of that trade. Then the Dallas Mavericks were able to work a trade with the Sacramento Kings that allowed them to be able to use that traded player exception to bring in Richaun Holmes, and they acquired the number 24 pick, which they selected Olivier-Maxence Prosper,
who is a 6'7" forward with
out of Marquette.
7'1" wingspan again.
That's right. So that's how we got here when it came to the Dallas Mavericks and what the work they've been doing tonight. And they've put in a lot of creativity to get where they are. You're hoping that Richaun Holmes, with a new change of scenery, is able to get back to the kind of player that you saw from a couple years ago. But also, the Mavericks getting 2 young players in this draft.
Young defensive-oriented players.
Players
as well.
in this draft,
yeah.
That's right. While also moving off. So here's what they did. They flipped Davis Bertans into Richaun Holmes is what they did. By sending Bertans to Oklahoma City.
And an extra pick.
I'm sorry?
They flipped Davis Bertans into Richaun Holmes and an extra pick.
Yes. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
The number 24 overall pick, yeah. So there you go.